How do I log into MCIS? And why so many login options? I want to use the MCIS program with my students, but I'm just a bit confused about all of the login options available. Which one do I need to use? Do I need to use more than one? Why can't they all have the same username and password? I really need answers to these questions. I'm glad you asked. We get this question a lot, so it makes sense for us to explain each type of login so you can be sure you're using the right tools for the job. Let's start with the different versions of MCIS. When you go to the MCIS login page, you'll see that there are 6 different login options. The first one is middle school. The middle school version of MCIS is a pared down version. It doesn't include all of the information available in the high school through adult versions. It is less overwhelming for students and is geared to provide the types of information appropriate for that age group. It focuses on assessments such as the Career Cluster Inventory and Ideas Interest Assessment, and occupational information and planning for high school. Students create their portfolio to save all of their work, which they will take with them as they transition into high school and college. The high school version is geared for the needs of students in high school, planning for their post-secondary opportunities or work. You can see that the list of options is much larger in the high school version than the MCIS middle school version. The college version is almost like the high school version, just the appearance has changed. The adult version is very similar to the high school version in content, but the appearance is geared to adults. So now that we know what versions there are of MCIS, let's talk about some of the other logins and why you'd want to use them. How do students log into MCIS? It may be a good idea to find out if your students already have a portfolio from a previous year or school. They won't need to change their username and password. They'll just need to have their account moved under your school's account. We'll talk about how to do that in another lesson. If your students haven't been in MCIS before and don't have accounts, there are 2 options for getting them login information. In the next section, we'll talk about the administrative site, where you can set up portfolios for your students. If you decide to set up accounts for your students in advance, then they'll use the username and password you created for them in the administration tools. Many schools use the student IDs as their passwords. However, if you want each student to create their own username and password, they will initially have to log into MCIS using your school's general username and password. Let's talk about the administration tools first. You'll probably need to provide some data on how you are using MCIS to meet Perkins requirements or other types of reports your school district may ask for. The administration tools allow you to organize students, review the progress in the MCIS program, send messages, and produce reports. There is a site administrative login and a district login. We'll address the site administration login first, which is the first option once you click on the administration tools icon. This is where you type in your administrative username and password, which is different from the general username and password for your school. We'll talk a bit more about that later. A limited number of people will have access to this site. It is up to the school to decide who will be the site administrator or if there will be multiple site administrators for the school. A site administrator can set up staff accounts. As you can see here, I've created 3 staff accounts for 2 teachers and a counselor in my school. They will use the usernames and passwords that I set up for them, and then they will be able to manage their students from their staff accounts. Whenever they want to use the administrative tools, they'll use their username and password. You can create staff accounts for everyone that will be doing work with their students in MCIS. We'll go into all of the tools at your disposal in another lesson. You can see here a list of 20 different site reports you can get. You can get overall site usage, which will tell you how many logins there were for any given period of time. Look at portfolios, assessment results, and save content, for instance. You can also view each student's portfolios, retrieve their username and passwords, and create parent accounts. We've masked the first name and username and passwords to preserve privacy. You can also see the results of different assessments. Here's the report that shows the count of students in each career cluster. As you can see from this example, the architecture cluster had the highest number of students scoring architecture as their highest cluster. Imagine how helpful this would be if every 8th grade student took the career cluster's inventory, and then this report gets shared with the high school for planning purposes. Now that we know what the basic site administration tools will do, let's talk about a district administration login. We're back at the same login page we used before. The link right below the portfolio administration login is the district login. The district report login screen looks a bit different from the regular administration tools login. The person or persons with access to this area is probably going to be someone with oversight of a group of teachers or schools. The reports are not as detailed as those in the site administration. Here is an example of some of the report options and what the portfolio summary report looks like for the Missoula County Public Schools. You can see how many active portfolios each school has, how many of those students have career plans, course plans, and their education and work history completed. The district includes middle schools as well. For this report, I can pick all of the schools or just some of the schools. This allows anyone with access to the district site to monitor how well each school is doing in getting their students into different areas of MCIS. The last login option is the general use option. All of the other MCIS logins connect a student or client with a school or agency. The benefits of working with an agency or school for the client or student is the additional support and guidance available. However, MCIS is easy enough to use without assistance. The general use login was created specifically for that purpose. When you click on the general use link, you'll see an additional option at the bottom of the screen, the Montana Resident Login. Select your town from the drop-down list and enter in your zip code. The general use login defaults to the adult version of MCIS. We highly recommend that if you are a student, use the login for that school. Now I know how to get my students into MCIS and how I'll manage their progress during the year. And I'll have all the data the district needs for their annual reports. I'll make sure that I bookmark the website at careers.mt.gov so students will have access to all of the career resources provided there. If you don't know your school or agency's username and passwords, contact MCIS staff at 800-541-3904 or email us at mcrn@mt.gov.